What's going on, guys? This is your boy John the Liquidator coming back with a major story. So it looked like famed NBA trainer Chris Brinkley has broken his silence about Caitlin Clark and potentially working with her to make a healthy recovery for the 2026 season. Guys, for this one here, we got to go all the way up to Indy. Let's get it. Let's go. Now, one thing about this story that is major, because Chris Brinkley is a phenomenal trainer. Now, some of you guys might not know this. Drew Hanlon is another phenomenal trainer. I actually know Drew. I went to high school with Drew Hanlon. And
Chris Brinkley has officially broken his silence, and what he's saying changes everything. He's made it clear that his goal is to help Caitlin Clark recover, but not for the 2025 season, for the 2026 Aster season. Take a moment to absorb that. An entire year ahead, already written off. This announcement doesn't sound like a routine injury update, it feels like a quiet alarm bell ringing across the league. Brinkley's statement points to something far more complex than a standard recovery timeline. It raises questions about what's really happening behind the scenes, about how Clark's condition is being handled and whether her long-term health is at risk. For a league that thrives on her presence and star appeal, the idea of a delayed return is more than concerning, it's destabilizing. The seriousness in Brinkley's tone doesn't just suggest caution, it signals possible urgency. It hints that Clark's situation might require help beyond what her team can currently provide. And if that's true, this isn't just another injury story, it's a wake-up call for the entire organization, exposing just how critical her recovery may actually be.
It became an Indiana Fever infirmary at some point during the season, earning the Hospital Fever nickname. The injury report read like a novel, and a lot of people wondered, how this could be, how all these various injuries could affect one team. Now, some of it is just bad luck, of course, whenever circumstances like that take place. But there were questions about the rehab process, the way injuries were treated, and that is natural when there is as many of them as there were with the Fever. I mean, you look at the team picture and there's 16 players in it or whatever. You see this, the joking around with crutches.
Chris Brinkley isn't just another name in the world of sports training, he's a heavyweight. With clients like LeBron James and Kevin Durant, his resume reads like a Hall of Fame list, and his credibility is virtually unmatched. So when someone of his caliber expresses interest in working with Caitlin Clark, it's more than professional curiosity, it's a powerful statement about both her talent and her current situation. Brinkley reportedly studied Clark's previous efforts to bulk up, suggesting that those changes might have actually contributed to the injuries that sidelined her for 2025. That's not simply bad luck, it's a pointed observation. His comments subtly challenge the effectiveness of her past training approach, which was likely guided by her current team, the Fever. The message between the lines is unmistakable. What was meant to make her stronger may have had the opposite effect. It paints a troubling picture of internal oversight and possible mismanagement, one where well-intentioned strategies might have compromised the health of one of the league's most valuable stars. And with Brinkley speaking out, those concerns are no longer whispers, they're public, and they demand answers.
That department, but Chris Brinkley is up there. If we're talking like trainers, we're talking getting players ready. Chris Brinkley worked with LeBron James, Kevin Durant. The list goes on and on and on. I'm talking about multiple NBA champions this young man has been featured with, worked with, and for Caitlin Clark to potentially be on his list, somebody he's eager to work with, Caitlin Clark need to quick, fast, swiftly start working with him, because we know there's a lot of things to Caitlin Clark game that she could work on. And one thing being dealing with the physicality of it all. Now, we seen them telling her to add the muscle. We ultimately know that did not work.
Here's where things take a serious turn. Brinkley revealed that he and Caitlin Clark had actually hoped to collaborate as early as last summer, but those plans never materialized. Why? Because the Indiana Fever's internal policies reportedly required Clark to train exclusively at the team's facility. In other words, she was barred from seeking the outside expertise of one of the most respected trainers in professional basketball. Think about that, access to world-class guidance was right there, yet team rules kept it out of reach. What should have been a strategic advantage became a self-imposed limitation. This wasn't just a logistical snag or a minor procedural call, it was a conscious decision that may have denied Clark the kind of individualized attention her body needed. The consequences of that restriction are now echoing loudly. If those protocols prevented her from receiving specialized care, they may have directly shaped the fragile state of her 2025 season. What looks like a policy decision on paper could, in reality, be a pivotal misstep, one that not only hindered her recovery but possibly altered the course of her early career.
But it was interesting to see a job posting by the Indiana Fever. This is a legitimate posting. You can see it online. It's on the Teamwork website as far as what the position itself actually is. Indiana Fever Senior Director of Player Health and Performance. The Senior Director of Player Health and Performance will oversee the health, medical, and athletic performance department for the Indiana Fever. They're responsible for providing professional athletic training and physical therapy care for Fever players and staff. Now, I have no idea if this is just a run-of-the-mill job.
Indiana Fever's 2025 campaign quickly descended into chaos, so much so that fans and analysts started calling them the Hospital Fever. The team's injury report became a revolving door, stacked with key players sidelined for weeks or months at a time. Even Caitlin Clark, the face of the franchise, wasn't spared. This wasn't a streak of bad luck, it was a pattern. As the injuries piled up, so did the questions. How were these athletes being treated? Was the rehab process failing them? And why were so many players breaking down under the same system? When nearly an entire roster suffers recurring setbacks, the problem stops being about chance and starts looking like a symptom of something larger. By the season's end, even the team photo told a story, players smiling through the pain, some balancing on crutches, others wrapped in braces. What looked like a lighthearted moment masked a deeper truth. This was a team fighting not just opponents on the court, but their own internal battle with injury management. And the league was watching closely, wondering if the Fever's medical approach had become its own worst enemy.
His list, somebody he's eager to work with. Caitlin Clark need to quick, fast, swiftly start working with him, because we know there's a lot of things to Caitlin Clark game that she could work on. And one thing being dealing with the physicality of it all. Now, we seen them telling her to add the muscle. We ultimately know that did not work. I believe the muscle was kind of what contributed to a lot of her injuries for the 2025 season. But if she could somehow work with Chris, he can come up with a system to help her either get out of these tough situations that she be in, especially in certain traps, and then turn around and once again adjust, either, shoot off the dribble, something to help.
And then came the moment that made everyone sit up and pay attention. The Indiana Fever quietly posted a new job opening for a senior director of player health and performance. On the surface, it looked like a routine staffing move, but in context, it spoke volumes. This wasn't a subtle adjustment or a small restructuring. It was a public acknowledgement that something inside the organization had gone seriously wrong. Why would a franchise in turmoil suddenly search for a top-tier health and performance executive unless their existing system was falling apart? The timing couldn't have been more revealing. Right in the middle of swirling concerns about training protocols, rehab oversight, and player well-being, the Fever were essentially admitting that their current approach wasn't working. The listing itself, official, visible, and open to scrutiny, felt like an unspoken confession. It suggested a franchise scrambling to rebuild credibility and protect its athletes after too many red flags. Rather than a quiet fix, it read like an emergency signal, a desperate bid to patch up a system that had already shown cracks too deep to ignore.
Job posting that's already been filled by somebody. I don't know how the hierarchy works behind the scenes, but I do know that it was amusing to see after that litany of Fever injuries this season. And you have to hope, no matter who is, working on the Fever players, that it's not something that repeats into next season. I mean, you even had Kelsey Mitchell going down at the very end of the year when she had nothing left. I mean, just absolutely nothing left. This is what she said to Sue Bird about that specific ordeal in the playoffs against Vegas.
That negative bluff.
The details within that job posting tell an even bigger story. The description lays out a sweeping list of duties, from supervising every aspect of the team's medical and health operations to designing new clinical treatment plans, overseeing rehabilitation strategies, managing nutrition programs, and coordinating sports medicine schedules. This isn't a simple hire to fill an empty seat. It's a full-scale restructuring of how the Indiana Fever handle player health. The sheer scope of the role signals something deeper, a recognition that the previous system wasn't just flawed, it was broken. When a team expands a position to cover everything from injury prevention to recovery logistics, it's not about fine-tuning, it's about rebuilding from the ground up. Such an overhaul speaks volumes. It implies that oversight had been scattered, accountability was thin, and players, including some of the league's biggest names, may have paid the price. The Fever's new posting isn't just a job ad, it's a quiet admission of systemic failure and a public attempt to restore confidence in a structure that should have protected its athletes all along.
The locker room part, when asked, she said, I think Caitlin Clark, next year, these are Fever shirt. She is restricted. Okay, here we go. But will Lexi Hall be wearing the Indiana Fever shirt? She's a restricted free agent this offseason for the very first time. She said, I'm a restricted free agent. So I think that changes things a little bit. I've loved my years here in Indiana. Obviously, without an uncertainty, you don't know what's to come. But I built a life here. I love this franchise. I love the people, the fans. So we'll see what comes. If judged by the atmosphere, right? A lot of uncertainty.
Kelsey Mitchell's playoff injury against Las Vegas became the most haunting example yet of the Indiana Fever's growing medical crisis. What she described afterward wasn't a routine injury or a simple misstep, it was something far more alarming. Mitchell recounted how she suddenly lost blood flow, how her body froze, her feet went numb, and she felt trapped inside her own skin, unable to move, unable to comprehend what was happening. This wasn't a sprain or a strain. It was a moment of sheer panic and helplessness on the court, one that left both teammates and fans fearing for her safety. Mitchell later admitted that it felt like an out-of-body experience, as though her body had completely shut down while her mind stayed alert, desperate for control. Her emotional breakdown in that moment captured the human cost of what had been unfolding all season, a player pushed beyond her physical limits, betrayed by a system meant to protect her. Mitchell's ordeal didn't just expose an injury, it exposed a breaking point. A near-catastrophic failure that symbolized the deeper instability within the Fever's medical and performance infrastructure.
Had nothing left. I mean, just absolutely nothing left. This is what she said to Sue Bird about that specific ordeal in the playoffs against Vegas.
And negative blood flow. I didn't get any blood flow to my muscles, so my body just locked too. Like, I told the ref, I'm like, just keep, like, something's happening, like, stop the game. Like, I felt like I was going through an out-of-body experience. Like, I felt numb. I felt like I couldn't move my feet. And then I began to panic here because I'm like, wow, my feet's not moving. And then I looked up at AB and I looked up at Lexi, and, you know, we had gone through so many wars together that, you know, we just start all...
Mitchell went even further, admitting she felt completely paralyzed in the middle of the game, gripped by the chilling fear that she might not recover. For an athlete known for her relentless drive and competitive fire, it was a devastating moment of helplessness. She simply couldn't finish the game, despite everything in her nature telling her to push forward. Her testimony offers a rare, unfiltered look at the toll these injuries take, not just physically, but mentally. Feeling trapped in her own body, knowing she wasn't ready for the moment, and yet unable to respond, underscores the immense psychological strain athletes endure when medical support fails. It's more than pain or fatigue, it's a profound sense of vulnerability and fear on the court. Mitchell's experience raises urgent questions about the very systems designed to protect players. How did such a terrifying breakdown occur? And what measures are in place to prevent another athlete from reaching the same breaking point? It's a stark reminder that the stakes go far beyond the scoreboard. They're about the safety, confidence, and well-being of the players themselves.
Man, that's the biggest talk of the hour, man. I'm going to play a little bit of the video I did yesterday speaking about Adam Silver and this thing getting real, man. Get down in the comment section. Let me know y'all thoughts about this. Like always, man, shake the haters off. I'm out of here. Peace out. This is serious. This is very, very, very serious. The reason this is serious, not only just for the NBA, but for the WNBA as well. We know the WNBA is also being pretty much ran for the most part.
The bigger question still looms. How does a single team suffer a relentless cascade of injuries, ultimately leading to a star like Kelsey Mitchell collapsing in the playoffs? Even looking back, it's almost unimaginable that one roster could face such repeated, extreme physical setbacks. Regardless of how the previous management is judged, competent or flawed, the results tell a clear story. The sheer number and severity of these incidents point to a systemic problem within the organization's approach to player health and recovery. Each breakdown didn't just affect the individual athlete, it sent shockwaves through the team, eroding performance, morale, and trust. The cumulative effect was catastrophic. It left players carrying the weight of preventable injuries and cast a long shadow over the Fever's 2025 season. What should have been a campaign defined by skill and strategy instead became a cautionary tale about the cost of mismanaged health systems and the devastating ripple effects that follow.
And then I began to panic here because I'm like, wow, my feet's not moving. And then I looked up at AB and I looked up at Lexi, and, you know, we had gone through so many wars together that, you know, we just start all like being emotional. Like, it was just like, oh my God, my feet's not moving. Like, I just kind of felt crazy. Like, I felt like, and then the end of it was the cramping and all that. But I just felt like I went on an out of body experience for like 7 seconds. I felt like my mind and my entire muscles on my body had left me. Like, it was weird. It was crazy.
How scared were you? Like, what was going through your mind when things started to lock up? I saw some quotes saying you couldn't really...
The WNBA doesn't exist in a vacuum. Its operations are closely intertwined with the NBA, with Adam Silver playing a key role in steering the league's massive $2 billion media deal. Many NBA owners also hold stakes in WNBA teams, creating layers of shared influence that blur the lines of oversight and accountability. This interconnected structure means that systemic problems in the WNBA, especially those involving player health, safety, or morale, aren't just internal matters. They could have ripple effects across professional basketball as a whole, influencing league policies, reputations, and operational standards. The financial and institutional stakes are enormous. When one league faces a crisis, the consequences don't stay contained. They can quickly spill over, affecting the other league's credibility, revenue, and overall culture. In this context, the Fever's struggles aren't just a team issue, they highlight potential vulnerabilities that could resonate far beyond a single franchise or season.
This whole situation with this illegal gambling thing with Chauncey Billups, Terry Rozier, and many other things has definitely took the sports world by storm. Me personally, I feel like this is going to be, if all of this information that has been released by the government is true, this is going to be the biggest sports scandal in the world ever. We're talking x-ray tables, see-through glasses, contacts, like it's the whole works, bruh. Players faking injuries. That's just a little bit. Now, this is where I feel like it's going to take place in the W. We know the Wall Street Journal.
Adding to the tension is the shadow of a massive illegal gambling scandal rocking the NBA, reportedly involving players and staff. Reports mention everything from x-ray tables to see-through glasses, and some are already calling it one of the largest sports scandals in history. The sheer scale and audacity of it has sent shockwaves throughout the professional basketball world. This isn't just a headline-grabbing controversy, it has real consequences for everyone involved in the sport. When corruption runs this deep, it can seep into every corner, including the systems meant to safeguard players' health and safety. Integrity at the top affects the culture at every level, and a compromised environment can allow mismanagement, neglect, or even intentional sabotage to thrive. In that context, the questions surrounding Caitlin Clark's treatment take on an added layer of plausibility. When institutional oversight is weak and ethics are in question, the possibility that her career was imperiled, whether by incompetence, poor planning, or worse, feels far less far-fetched. It paints a picture of a league where talent alone can't always guarantee protection.
I mean, that had to have been so scary.
Yeah, I felt like I felt the worst of the worst is that I was paralyzed. I was like, wow, is this really how it's going to end? You know, because we competitors and we was just in a moment, and, you know, you love basketball, and like, you know, the way the game was going, the way the series is going, the way, you know, the flow of everything at that time, I was just like, the least I thought I was going to do was finish the game. And I felt like, you know, a little piece of like, dang, like, you know, was I not ready for the moment? Is that why it didn't happen? You know, I just had so many emotions, and I felt like, you know, like I didn't finish, but my team did.
Gambling controversy could have a direct connection to Caitlin Clark's circumstances. Months ago, the Wall Street Journal reported allegations that her civil rights were violated and that she may have been intentionally targeted. Experts and insiders now suggest that this could be the first domino in a much larger chain of events. It raises a chilling question. Could the intense scrutiny, the punishing physical demands, and the series of injuries Clark has endured be part of a deliberate, orchestrated scheme? If these links hold any truth, what initially appeared as misfortune or mismanagement starts to look far more calculated. Viewed through this lens, her injuries are no longer isolated incidents. They could represent deliberate actions aimed at controlling outcomes, reshaping narratives, or exerting influence over a star player. The implications are staggering, turning what seemed like bad luck into a scenario of potential manipulation with high stakes for both her career and the integrity of the sport.
It has been released by the government is true. This is going to be the biggest sports scandal in the world. ever. We're talking x-ray tables, see-through glasses, contacts, like it's the whole works, bruh. Players faking injuries. That's just a little bit. Now, this is where I feel like it's going to take place in the W. We know the Wall Street Journal released an article months ago about Caitlin Clark civil rights being violated, about them kind of targeting her, and people should be held accountable. Me personally, I feel like this is the
Rewritten Part 13 *. The speaker doesn't mince words. Caitlin Clark is America's sweetheart, drawing comparisons to Taylor Swift in terms of her cultural reach and public adoration. That kind of status elevates her beyond just a star athlete. She becomes an untouchable icon in the eyes of fans. Any hint of injustice or intentional harm directed at her is bound to ignite a firestorm of public outrage. This emotional attachment amplifies the stakes of the allegations surrounding her. If she is truly being undermined by her own team, or if systemic failures are allowing her to be sidelined, the backlash won't be contained to sports circles, it will explode into mainstream consciousness. What starts as a story about injuries or mismanagement could quickly evolve into a larger narrative of betrayal, corporate negligence, and ethical failure. In short, Clark isn't just a player, she's a symbol. And any harm done to her resonates far beyond the court, turning a professional controversy into a cultural moment with potentially explosive consequences.
Everything else that she would go down to in the midst of all of that, a series of injuries that you can't imagine one team having to go through, having to manage. So whoever was managing it had a tough job, whether they were doing a great job or a horrible job. You got to hope that Fever core is healthy next year. Kelsey Mitchell, by the way, in that interview indicated essentially that she's going to be back. At least that was the read on it, and talked about, playing alongside Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston.
Yeah, I mean, you already talked a little bit about just like Kate.
Even Lexi Hull, a restricted free agent with the Fever, voiced hesitation about her future, despite her obvious affection for Indiana. She's established a life in the city, grown close to the community, and yet admitted, "You don't know what's to come." That uncertainty, coming from a player who genuinely loves the franchise, underscores just how shaky the organization's internal environment has become. Hull's comments hint at an administrative fever, a culture so unstable that even loyal players are forced to weigh whether staying is in their best interest. It's a rare glimpse into how off-court turbulence can shape the decisions and mindset of athletes. The implications are significant. The issues within the Fever go far beyond injuries or mismanagement of health. They reveal a deeper instability affecting team morale, trust in leadership, and long-term player commitment. In a franchise already under scrutiny, this adds another layer of concern about the overall health of the organization itself.
Violated, about them kind of targeting her, and people should be held accountable. Me personally, I feel like this is the first domino headed towards that direction, because I said it once and I said it again. Caitlin Clark is America's sweetheart. She's like Taylor Swift, bro.
The speaker even zeroed in on the elusive locker room segment, calling it the biggest topic of the hour, yet frustratingly, it didn't appear in the article. That absence alone is telling, hinting at hidden tensions or controversies simmering behind closed doors. These are likely conflicts too sensitive or explosive for public reporting, but their very mention fuels speculation. The omission sends a clear signal: the Fever's challenges may stretch far beyond injuries and medical mismanagement. Interpersonal dynamics, team cohesion, and internal culture could all be compromised, creating a volatile environment that affects both mental and physical performance. If the locker room truly reflects turbulence of this magnitude, it deepens the sabotage narrative. Athletes aren't just battling on-court opponents, they may also be navigating internal pressures that amplify injury risks, stress, and uncertainty, further complicating the team's ability to recover or perform at a high level.
I have time to dwell. I think I started to have a better shot efficiency because I started not thinking about it if I missed, because the way Caitlin was playing and the way AB wanted to play, like, let's go. And that had always been how I played. And I'm like, I felt like a kid in the candy store. I'm like, ooh, I'm back with people that want to play fast. And it just, the pace alone was just like our thing. And then from there, our individual games, obviously, me being able to draw, being able to cut, and Caitlin see me, her ability to be able to pass, AB ability to be able to pass, which is underrated and people don't talk about. We just had different compliments of each other that worked out.
Revisiting Chris Brinkley's observations, he made a pointed statement. Clark's previous attempt to add muscle likely played a major role in her 2025 injury woes. This isn't speculation, it's the assessment of a top-tier professional with experience training elite athletes. What was intended to strengthen her body may have, in fact, weakened it, exposing her to setbacks that could have been avoided. The misstep, likely guided by team staff, turned a well-intentioned development plan into a physical liability, making it impossible to ignore the possibility of negligence or flawed methodology affecting her season before it even began. Brinkley's direct offer to work with Clark represents a critical lifeline. He can implement a program tailored to her needs, helping her manage physicality, refine her shooting off the dribble, and navigate high-pressure game situations. Unlike the rigid, in-house regimen the Fever forced her into, his individualized approach targets the very weaknesses that contributed to her injuries, offering a real path to recovery and sustainable performance. This starkly illustrates the difference between generic team conditioning and specialized elite development, a difference that could make or break her career. When you piece together the mounting evidence, systemic medical failures, a sweeping health department overhaul, harrowing injury testimonies, and Brinkley confirming he was blocked from helping Clark, a troubling pattern emerges. Layer on whispers of targeting and league-wide scandals, and the situation grows even more alarming. Clark's immediate future is precarious, caught in a web of circumstances that demand answers. The question isn't merely whether her comeback was sabotaged, it's also who stands to gain from keeping one of basketball's brightest